Hello everyone, the construction behind me is moving forward. Video. Last time I finished making the sand cushion and the sewage system for my future house will be embedded in the foundation. Therefore, the logical next step before the final leveling of the sand cushion is to install the internal sewage system. To do the piping, I bought an orange 110mm sewage pipe for outdoor use. Even though the sewage pipes are not outside but basically under the foundation, you still need a pipe designed for outdoor use. There are also sewage outlets, for example, from the kitchen sink where a 50mm diameter is enough, but the so-called main line should be laid using the largest diameter pipe. That's why I laid everything under the foundation using 110mm outdoor pipes. Plan carefully and draw your future sewage system before laying pipes to ensure you buy the correct ones, because they are sold in different lengths. Roughly speaking, half a meter, 2 meters. For example, if you need to make 1 meter 20 centimeters, you'll have to cut the pipe. And the more cuts you need to make, the more labor intensive it becomes, because laying the pipe is not difficult, the hardest part is actually cutting them. Also, a drawing is a great thing to make sure you don't make mistakes with the sewer outlets, because once it's done, you won't be able to redo anything. If you make a mistake somewhere, you'll have to live with it, since you can't change anything in the foundation anymore. The sewage system was designed in such a way as to have as few places as possible where the pipe needed to be cut, but it wasn't possible to avoid them completely. So, for the pipes that needed to be cut, I tried to cut them with an angle grinder. It seemed very inconvenient to me, and I ended up cutting them really unevenly. I used a regular wood handsaw to cut the next pipe and found it easier, so I cut all the pipes that way. The cuts were straight and neat. But you need to saw carefully, because one time I got carried away and the pipe cracked. I pressed it too hard with my foot and the pipe cracked. It was more convenient to sharpen the cut pieces of pipe using an angle grinder, and I finished off the sharpened ends of the pipes with a knife. The first thing I did was lay out all the pipes on the ground so I could assemble them together before I buried the whole system. Assembling the pipes is quite simple, but there is a nuance that may seem insignificant, yet is very important and will make your life easier. Before assembling the pipes, you definitely need to buy some lubricant. There is a special lubricant available, or you can just use some kind of sealant. This is not needed to make the pipe connection airtight. You don't need anything extra for that because the sealing is provided by the rubber gasket inside the pipe. The lubricant is needed to make it easy and convenient to connect two pipes, because they are very difficult and tight to connect. They fit into each other very snugly. And that's why turning something, redoing something, or moving something without lubricant is a real problem. To be continued. I wanted to buy lubricant when I was placing an order at the store. I was ordering a lot of things at once, and I even opened the page where this lubricant specifically for sewer pipes was, but for some reason I didn't order it. I don't know why. In the end, I started assembling the sewer pipes and realized that without lubricant it's just an impossible problem. I got exhausted. I spent a lot of time rearranging these pipes. I could have just dropped everything, gone to the store for some lubricant, come back, and it would have been much easier and faster than trying to do all this without lubricant. I'll get you Vaseline. There's no time. During assembly, there's one more thing. The connection shouldn't be made all the way in. We insert the pipe into the other pipe, make a mark, and then pull it back just a couple of millimeters. This is so that when we pour our foundation there will inevitably be some settling. No matter how well we do everything, settling will happen anyway. That's why we need to give the pipe a little room to move, so to speak. If the connection is tight and there's a lot of pressure on it, the pipe could crack. Nuance number 3. When assembling sewer pipes, you can't make right angles. That means all our bends and turns in the sewer system shouldn't be at a 90-degree angle. I made all the sewer outlets and turns not with a single 90-degree elbow, but with two 45-degree elbows. This way we reduce the chance of a clog in that spot. Also, when making turns you should avoid a 90-degree angle. That's why I installed a 45-degree elbow, added about a meter of pipe, then put in another 45-degree elbow, and only after that did I turn it to a 90-degree angle. I made the pipe turn more smoothly instead of bending it at a 90-degree angle. I have personal experience living for 20 years in a house where the sewage system was installed. It was done as incorrectly as possible. First of all, it was made not from an outdoor pipe, but from an indoor one, so there was an indoor pipe outside. Secondly, the pipe came out above the ground surface. Basically, it came out of the wall above the foundation about 40 centimeters above the ground. It came out of the wall, went down with a 90-degree elbow, then after 15 centimeters there was another 90-degree elbow, which then sent it straight through the foundation into the receiving well. In 20 years nothing happened to the pipe. It's supposedly meant for indoor use, but nothing happened to it outside. The sewer just got clogged. In 20 years, not once, despite the 2 wrong turns, it was a very unfortunate spot. Secondly, it was above ground, not covered by anything at all, just a bare pipe sticking out outside. It froze several times during the harshest winters. In the most severe frosts, when the sewage system was rarely used, it turns out that it was this particular section that froze, so maybe if it had been done a little differently, nothing would have frozen at all. Despite my experience, I'll do everything right in my own house. When I assembled the entire sewage system on top of the sand cushion, I marked it out, placed it where it was supposed to function, marked everything, checked a couple of branches, marked everything, marked it on the sand where it was supposed to be, moved it aside, and dug the trench by hand. My favorite shovel. I should probably give it a name by now because I spend more time with it than with my girlfriend. The top part of the sewage pipe should be slightly embedded in the sand cushion. There's no point in burying it too deep, then the pipe should slope downward at 20 millimeters per meter. First, I dug the trench, checked the slope of the trench using a laser level, did the work, laid the pipe in there, and then checked the slope of the pipe again with the laser level to make absolutely sure that I'm doing everything correctly. Both the pipe installation and digging the trench took a little time, and I installed the sewage system in less than 1 working day, and that's considering I struggled to do everything without lubricant. If I had used lubricant, it would have been even faster. When we laid the pipe and checked the slope, we could cover the pipe with the same sand that was left after we finished. This sand needs to be watered down. Because our sand cushion is very compacted, I tried to compact my sand cushion as much as possible using a vibrating plate. We shouldn't have weak spots. That's why I soaked it with water, thus compacting this area above the sewage system, so the sewage outlet from the foundation is left outside for 1.5 meters. I covered it with plastic so that no dirt, sand, or anything else would get in and nothing would get clogged. Next, either a receiving well or a septic tank will be installed in that corner. That's basically it. The sewage work is currently finished. This is so that we can build the formwork and pour the foundation. I protected the sewage outlets from the effects of concrete with 2 pieces of pipe left over from the pipe I bought for the storm drain. As for the sewage outlet, instead of a waste drain, again, I have 20 years of experience living in a house where it was done this way. Here, on quicksand, concrete rings were almost buried, 2 meters into the ground without a bottom. 4 people lived in the house for 20 years. Literally only a couple of times over those years did we call a sewage truck to pump it out. At the same time, there were no problems with operation at all. If everything had been installed correctly and nothing froze, then absolutely everything would have worked as it should and wouldn't have interfered with living in any way. In other words, there was no smell at all for your own house. I'll make a decision a bit later once the frame is up whether to just make a well without a bottom. Or, I'll be honest, if everything under the house is insulated with Penaplex. And you might think that there's really no need to dig deeper here, but many people who have visited my site have asked, why is it so low here? And won't all of this freeze in the winter? There's absolutely no point in digging deeper, because when we use the sewage system, hot water is constantly being drained there, and in the receiving well or in the treatment facility, decomposition processes of the waste are taking place. And heat is generated, so it also goes in the opposite direction, so roughly speaking it's always warm in the pipe and you really have to try hard to freeze it. Where I lived it would freeze simply because of improper assembly, because it was just out in the open, standing outside, completely exposed and assembled incorrectly in this way. It should never freeze in the northwest latitudes. My foundation is basically an insulated Swedish slab, and one of the disadvantages of this type of foundation is that the utilities are considered non-repairable because they are embedded in the foundation and there is no access to them. Let's say you'll have to repair the sewage system if something happens to it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there is experience with using this and nothing happens to the pipes. In 20 years, nothing at all has happened even to the internal pipe. The external pipe is made even better and absolutely nothing will happen to it. If there are no external impacts, like earthquakes, which we don't have here, the pipe shouldn't move anywhere. A good sand cushion has been made, everything has been calculated, so there shouldn't be any significant settling, and that's why the sewage system should function absolutely normally. To install the internal sewage system under the house, I needed this amount of money. I'll share a video breaking down expenses after finishing my foundation. So far I've only completed the internal piping. In the future I will need to either build a receiving well from concrete rings, which will cost about 20,000 rubles, or install a local private treatment facility, which will cost around 80,000 rubles. I also have an interesting story about how I installed sewage for the first time in my future house. Now this is the second time in my life that I've assembled a sewage system. The first time, I needed to move the sink and the toilet in my shop in Crimea. At that time, I knew absolutely nothing about sewage systems. I just went to the store, explained what I needed, drew the diagram I wanted, and asked them to give me everything I needed to assemble the required setup. When they gave me all the necessary pipes, the first thing I asked was whether I needed any kind of sealant to connect these pipes. I had some doubts that they might leak, and I thought I would need some kind of sealant to make sure they fit together tightly. But they assured me that the pipes just fit into each other. There's nothing else you need to do, anything more would be unnecessary and just a waste of time, basically. I didn't just believe them. And of course, I went on YouTube to see how sewage systems are made, and I really made sure that it's necessary and sufficient to just fit the pipes into each other, and that's it. The connection will be completely airtight. I went to my shop, assembled the whole system, turned on the faucet, and water started leaking from every possible gap. All the joints, everything leaked. Running through water, everything's soaked and my feet are drenched. Why am I so unlucky? I checked and watched everything, even on YouTube. Finally, I just went back to the store since assembly is quick. That's what happened. That day, I came to the store and asked why everything leaked for me. And either I brought the pipe with me or I tried to explain how I assembled something. In the end, it turned out that the store gave me pipes without rubber seals, without sealing rings. Not a single pipe had sealing rings, and that's how they sold me the pipes. When this was discovered, they gave me rubber seals for all the pipes. I came back again, redid everything, this time with the rubber seals, and everything was really fine, nothing leaked anywhere. Situations like this happen in life, so make sure to check all the pipes for rubber seals. So you don't repeat my experience with the sewage system, I'll tell you next how I put all this beauty together. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. If you have questions, leave a comment. I read and reply to all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.